my thoughts moving pretty quickly last night when the word came down that Nick Saban was retiring from Alabama. And, of course, everybody in the college football world reacting to that as one would. The most successful college football coach of all time and shoes to fill that really, frankly, can't be filled. But that is the question. Who's going to endeavor to do that very thing? And it didn't take long for Mike Norvell's name to be mentioned atop many insiders' lists of coaches that Alabama would reach out to. Now, we would all like to believe that just simply isn't going to happen, but I don't know that it's not. I will tell you, it's going to be a brief open. I had the good fortune of talking to Andy Staples, of course, national college football writer and host for On 3. Prior to that, Sports Illustrated, The Athletic. He's been around a long time, obviously. A lot of friends in the sport, a lot of athletic directors on speed dial, a lot of coaches. And I wanted to get his thought. He had Mike Norvell on the top of his list. You'll hear when I ask him the very first question why that is. We're going to get to that interview that was conducted about an hour ago in just a few moments. I will tell you this. It's one of those days where instead of goofing around and having a casual conversation that we like to do and have some fun, we're going to be serious and buttoned up here. So we are reaching out to Florida State as well to try to track down and see whether or not Mike Norvell would like to come on to the Jeff Cameron Show today, if in fact he is willing to and wanting to refute his candidacy for the Alabama job. So bear with us as we effort to do that. I will tell you that it is a serious consideration that Mike Norvell is a candidate. That is not us worried for no reason. That is not hand-wringing because it plays well. That is because Mike is a candidate for the job. Why wouldn't he be? He's 42 years old. What he endeavored to do here at Florida State and achieved was nothing short of excellence. I won't say miraculous. Florida State's a good place to come and coach, and it's in a good location with a lot of cachet, but it is impressive, and it's been duly noted by everybody in the industry. People can have debates about who's a good coach, who's a bad coach, who's done what with what and how. But there's no debating that what Mike Norvell has done at Florida State is representative of coaching excellence, and that gets noticed. So what I'm going to do here is be very quick in and out in the opener. We are going to come back right after a brief break, and you'll hear my interview with Andy Staples that was conducted about an hour ago. I will react to that. We will continue to try to track down and see if we can't get a hold of Mike Norvell himself. And if he is obviously willing to come on the show, that will happen today. Can't guarantee it. Do not know it. Have not heard back. We shall see. Andy Staples, On 3, national college football host and writer, joins me next on the Jeff Cameron Show.
Tallahassee is full of rich history and traditions. When you think of things that jump out in the minds of longtime residents, the state capitol, McClay Gardens, the Springtime Tallahassee Parade, FSU and FAMU Sports, the St. Mark's Lighthouse, St. George Island, and Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Paul's has been protecting thousands of people, their pets, their homes, and their lawns in the capital region for over 50 years. Locally founded and still locally owned and operated. There aren't many businesses in our industry that keep it together that long. Paul's Pest Control has many customers we've been honored to serve for over the last 50 years. We've experienced tremendous changes in how we treat homes and protect the people that live there. We've moved from liquid termite treatments that require drilling into the home's foundation to Centricon, a baiting system which works with their natural biology. We've moved from interior service to exterior treatments for general pests. But one thing we're not going to change is our old-fashioned commitment to personal service for each of our customers, the same way we've been doing it for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the WarChant.com Multimedia Network. Check out WarChant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's WarChant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Welcome back, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Let's bring in the man, Andy Staples, right now on 3 covering college football. You know Andy from everywhere. Writer, host, and guest right now on the Jeff Cameron Show. Andy, you had Mike Norvell. First of all, hello, buddy. Good to see you.
Hi.
Secondly,
what's going on? Slow news day.
All right, so you had Mike Norvell on the top of your list. Now, I don't know when the story was published on 3. Was that in order of the way you thought it could play out, or the order of candidates' preferences for Alabama? Or how did you list these? Or are they just guys that you think, hey, this handful of guys are the dudes that Alabama's going to be interested in?
I went from most plausible to least plausible.
Right.
So
Okay.
Norvell, and I had Norvell at the top. I had Dan Lanning, who I think we know now is staying at Oregon, but he's one I'm sure they kick the tires on. I put Steve Sarkisian on there, although I think maybe he has a better job at Texas right now with no Nick Saban at Alabama. But the Norvell thing, it makes a lot of sense because he's recruited in the area. When you're the head coach at Florida State, you recruit against Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Georgia, Florida, like all the teams that Alabama would have to recruit against, you're already recruiting against. And so you understand the lay of the land, you understand the recruiting map. And then you add in the fact that he's been with the Battles Inn, which is a really good collective. Like they're ahead of the curve on everything. He has the experience of the last month and a half. Like if you're that person who got screwed that way, wouldn't you want to go to the place where they leapfrogged over you? Like it would seem they have a prohibitive advantage over where you are now. And so that's the issue. Plus, I mean, we know Alabama can pay. They didn't have to pay a buyout to get rid of Nick Saban. That he retired. So not that they wanted to get rid of him, but they got plenty of money. So I mean, it's a tough no if you're Mike Norvell.
It's a really tough no. It's also it's a weighty decision for anybody at this point, Andy, because do you want to be the guy that follows Nick Saban? Sweet
right.
Jesus. I mean, really?
Yeah.
You got no chance to live up to the greatest resume ever built.
No. And that's the thing. But at least Alabama fans are very reasonable and they probably understand that. Can you imagine? Like, the calls to Feinbaum are going to be ridiculous if that coach doesn't win a national title in the first 2 or 3 years. Like it's going to be a pressure cooker unlike any other, because you remember when Saban took the job, people were saying, oh, it's too dysfunctional. Nobody's going to want that job. Now it's like he's been too good and nobody's going to want it.
You almost can't follow that up. I get what you're saying about the money, and obviously this is something that Florida State fans and fans of any team, any program, frankly, who cares to play big boy football feels like they're stuck, hence the lawsuit. If in the ACC, knowing what SEC teams, not just Alabama, but SEC teams and Big Ten teams are making, annually. And so you'd be scared that long-term you'd be at a distinct disadvantage. But it's going to 12 teams next year, and Florida State is trying to get out of the ACC. I wonder if you built a 13-0 program, yes, program that got snubbed, but you've got it rolling here. When you think about the plausibility of this, do you think Mike Norvell is going to be the next coach at Alabama?
I think it's certainly plausible. I don't know if he is or not. I would think they would look at Kalen DeBoer at Washington because I think everybody will look at him. I think NFL teams are going to look at him too. And he's been successful everywhere. And you look at what he did this year with, they had some really good players, but a lot of it's what he inherited. And you come into Alabama, you're inheriting a way better roster than what he inherited and took the national title game. So I think he would be one you talk to. I think maybe Tommy Rees, the sitting offensive coordinator at Alabama, who came in there this year, I think impressed Nick Saban and probably got a recommendation from him. But that it's tough because it is such a huge job. But you'd want somebody who's been. That's why I think Norvell and DeBoer make the most sense to me, because they've been so successful at different levels. And, they've been successful at this level as well. Like, you don't have to guess, would they be able to succeed at this level? They already have.
I want to ask you big picture here. I know you have great connections across the country, and you talk to writers and reporters everywhere, as well as staffs and athletic departments. It can't be that Alabama was caught off guard, because we heard whispers of Nick before the year, Andy. Now, I know that there were some inconsistencies there in terms of some people that cover Alabama said, we weren't really getting a hint of this. And then late in the year, there was the thought that he was out recruiting and that he was going to be interviewing coaches and other things. And so maybe he had decided against it. Were they caught off guard in any way? And then also the second part to this question, Andy, Nick Saban will have to have a huge say in who gets this job, right?
One would definitely think he'll get a say in it. Now, as far as caught off guard, I don't know that they were expecting this when it happened, how it happened. But I will tell you that Greg Byrne, the athletic director there, has been preparing for this since he took the job. He took the job in 2017.
Yeah.
You take it, let's see, I'm trying to think it. Greg would have been like 45 years old when he took the job. So he's 52 now. I think he would have probably thought, okay, sometime in my tenure, I'm going to have to replace Nick Saban. And so I know he's been gaming out that scenario over and over and over again since he got the job. And he's kept a running list in his head of, here's who I might call. And obviously that list has changed over the years. But I think probably whenever it was that Nick Saban said it, and I'm guessing it was before we found out yesterday, but I don't know how much before.
It could have been too much. Yeah.
Right. Nick Saban was interviewing candidates for job openings.
Yeah.
Yesterday. So I don't know that it was much before that, but I will say that Greg Byrne probably was ready to spring into action because he'd already in his mind made the list. Now, would you be vetting people? No, I think you got to vet people quick. But my guess is this is going down pretty quickly. I don't know how long it's going to take, but as we sit here on Thursday, late morning, early afternoon, I wouldn't be shocked if they have a coach by the weekend.
What could have changed, Andy? Is this and I'll circle back to Mike Norvell in a second and get very specific for Florida State, but I'm curious. This seems like a man contemplating the state of the game and being 72 years old and saying, this ain't it. This is not nobody. Listen, no matter where we all stand and how we think it's a good thing for players to finally get their fair share, nobody likes where this has gone in college football, and that it feels like you have to re-recruit your roster every day, every week, every month, unlimited transfers. No, the NFL coaches don't have to deal with this nonsense.
Right.
Like, this does not seem like an appetizing thing to be a part of right about now. Do you think this is a result of that?
I think that's probably part of it. And I think it's also for Nick Saban, not something he could solve as easily as like when they changed they changed the recruiting rules. So he couldn't oversign anymore. Right. He figured that out and still signed better classes than everybody else. When the up-tempo offenses came in, he figured he didn't like dealing with them as a defensive coach, but he figured, okay, if I run them with my 5 stars, we'll be better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And so he started running an up-tempo offense. So he was always good and adaptable and understood that if you make changes and continue to work through those and stay ahead of the curve, you could keep winning. But what he can't do is make more rich people in Alabama. Like Texas is going to have more rich people. So Texas and Texas A&M are going to have probably better funded NIL operations than he is. Tennessee may have a better funded NIL operation than he does. Georgia probably will. And oh, by the way, you're in a state where there's another SEC school that is really passionate about winning football games, that has won a national title this century, that almost won another one, except the Noles beat them.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I'm trying to think now, if you're Mike Norvell, the people listening to this show, my show, they are passionate Florida State fans for the most part, college football fans too, but they don't like to hear that there's a job that maybe a coach of theirs couldn't turn down. But
here's the thing. I think any other job, you're not talking about this.
Correct.
I think Andy. It's like Alabama and Ohio State are probably the only 2 jobs where, maybe Georgia, the only jobs you'd even think about this, where somebody might leave a place like Florida State. It's not, I don't think this is a value judgment on Florida State. I really don't. Because
I don't either,
it's
but
freaking
it's
Alabama. Yeah.
It's Alabama. It is. And, you probably are, if you're Mike Norvell, very frustrated. Now, I will say this, and I've had the great fortune of watching this rise and Mike Norvell's turnaround of this program. And, Andy, from talking with the man, and we had a great opportunity together to go to his house and have dinner and talk with him.
Yep.
And, he's very forthright. He's a guy that seems like he's an open book and genuine and authentic. Players love him. He has said many times that this is, quote unquote, the greatest job in the world. Now, coaches say these things, and you kind of have to say it. You give the fans what they want. He's built something here. They're not going to slow down. This has been a good week in the portal. It's, Florida State may take a step back from 13-0 next year, but they're going to be a candidate to win the conference and make the 12-team playoff for sure. Which I'm asking your opinion now. Would you give that up and take the Alabama job for having built what he's built here in such a short period of time?
If Florida State were in the SEC or the Big Ten, I wouldn't leave. Yeah. But in the ACC, yeah, I would. And that's what I kept thinking about. When Lanning very quickly dismissed the idea of going to Texas A&M when that job opened. Yeah. And so I created what I call the 2-question test. And this is really what you should do to decide if you want to leave the job you're in. And the first question is my school in the SEC or the Big Ten? And if the answer is yes, you move on to question 2. And question 2 is, can I finish in the top 3 of that conference on a fairly regular basis? So, like, if you're 4, you can actually answer yes to both those questions. If you're Steve Sarkisian, you can answer yes to both those questions. If you're Lane Kiffin, you might be able to answer yes, although I think Alabama is a pretty significant step up from Ole Miss. But because Florida State's in the ACC, you can't answer yes to question 1. And we know Florida State wants out of the ACC. We also know there's a chance Florida State is in one of those leagues in the coming years.
Yeah,
but you don't know how that's going to happen or when that's going to happen. And you do know Alabama's in the SEC now.
Yeah, and I wonder, you mentioned Lane Kiffin. I wanted to get to him. I thought he would be a guy that, now listen, we all know Lane's past, and lots of people have very strong opinions about Lane Kiffin, but he can coach. There's no getting around that.
Oh, yeah.
And he did a good job at Alabama, and he was there as the OC. He's also kind of changed. I won't get into details there, but he seems like he's a different guy in the last couple of years.
Yeah. He's talked about, like, if you read Marty Smith's book that just came out, he goes into great detail about some of the changes he's made lifestyle-wise. Right. And so I do think it would be... That
would make him a more palatable candidate, right?
A different version of Lane than the one that was the offensive coordinator at Alabama. Not even just different than the Raiders head coach Lane Kiffin or the Tennessee head coach Lane Kiffin, but different than the guy who was the coordinator at Alabama. But I don't know if there's too much water under that particular bridge. Or the other part of it is Lane hasn't won against Nick Saban or Kirby Smart. And that's a problem. Because remember, like Hugh Freeze beat Nick Saban 2 years in a row, like scared the hell out of Nick Saban. I'm not sure Lane scares those guys. And so if you put him there, is he going to be able to beat Texas? Is he going to be able to beat Ohio State when they have to play them, or Michigan when they have to play them?
Of course, the argument, if you're a 4-Lane Kiffin kind of guy, is that he'll have better players.
He'll have the talent. Exactly.
He'll have the talent.
But I also think, I think Norvell's a great example of this. You know, you look at them against LSU this year. LSU has boatloads of talent.
Yeah.
Florida State had some really special players too, but I think if you just put the teams side by side in terms of draft picks and everything else, and Florida State whooped them.
It was a sound beating. Yeah.
Right. And DeBoer's the same way. Like, Oregon is more talented than Washington.
Yeah.
And he beat them twice this year and once last year.
I think you're right. DeBoer's the right candidate, Andy. That's the way we do.
No, hey, listen, I understand. The thing is, somebody's going to be heartbroken if they hire a sitting head coach. And we all know that. That's what sucks about this whole deal, is there's no easy way to do this. There's no graceful way to do this. Like, either Kalen DeBoer's getting ripped away from a team he just took to the national title, or Mike Norvell's getting ripped away from a team that he just took to the ACC title. Now, the less painful way is they go internal, which we've seen a couple times. You know, we saw Notre Dame do that with Marcus Freeman. Could they do Tommy Rees? Same thing. We'll see. But to me, giving the Alabama job to a dude in his 30s who's never been a head coach is, whew.
It's weighty, and the only way it would happen is if Coach Saban gave his blessing. I mean, there's just no way. I mean, he would have to go in and say, look, he's the guy. I know he's young, but I trust him and I believe in him. I think you guys should hire him. I am curious about that because, I mean, Nick's got to have great fondness, obviously, for his time at Alabama, as successful as he's been. And I got to imagine he wants that thing to continue to succeed. So he's going to have a say in this, and maybe the say in this.
Well, that's the thing. If Rees is actually a candidate, it's because Nick Saban promoted him as a candidate. I would imagine that Saban would sign off on Kalen DeBoer or Mike Norvell as well. Like, he's having recruited against one of them a lot in Norvell, and just watching what DeBoer has done. I think DeBoer is one that every coach in America respects, and I think every coach in America knows what Mike Norvell has done at Florida State. Like, the job he's done, taking over what he took over to get them where they are right now. I think the coaches, better than the fans, understand how hard that was.
Yeah, and he is respected too. I think Mike is a guy that a lot of coaches, you saw it this year with Brian Kelly when he was talking about Mike Norvell. And then you saw the way Kirby Smart, how he felt about that game after it was over. I mean, look, obviously Kirby's team is the best. I would argue is the best team in the country. I think they're better than Michigan. But anyhow, the point would be that after that game, he thought it was bad for college football to a certain extent. But I think he felt the way that he did, probably because he likes Mike. He likes Mike. I don't know there's too many people who don't. I guess final thing, is there a pro coach, an assistant somewhere out there that's crazy enough to jump into the college game that has Alabama ties?
Well, D'Amico Ryans is the most obvious because he's an Alabama grad, but he just took the Texans to the playoffs in year one. I can't imagine. He's never coached in college.
Right.
Like, the two guys who have coached in college that I would actually call, just because why not? Mike Vrabel.
Yep.
Who may be the Patriots coach by tomorrow for all we know. But Dan Quinn, the DC at the Cowboys, who used to be the Falcons head coach, when he was the defensive coordinator at Florida, his recruiting was insane. Like, the guys he handpicked and targeted, I think he had 3 of them wound up in the first round. Yeah. And he's one of those guys, if you ever meet him, like, he's a great recruiter, like, just natural born recruiter. And I think Vrabel's like that. I'm sure D'Amico Ryans would be like that too, even though he's never had to. But Dan Quinn probably going to be an NFL head coach again. So I doubt he would, because these NFL guys, you think about, they don't have to deal with NIL. They have a GM to deal with contracts
these days, Andy. It's
and the transfer portal, like, they have a CBA that governs player movement. They don't have to worry about that. So it's like half the work for the same amount of money.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It seems to me that maybe the next time I'm talking to you will be real soon, and it may be very well about the candidate list that you put out for Florida State. We shall see. I'm knocking on wood that's not the case, because it's been fun to cover Mike Norvell, and I admittedly, selfishly, rather enjoy his open media policies.
Yes.
They're rare in this business, Andy.
Well, we joke about that all the time, because there's a program in the town where I live. It's about 2 hours 2 hours southeast of Tallahassee, where they're locked up like a fortress and can't seem to go to a bowl game. Meanwhile, Mike Norvell's like, "Hey, you want to come hang on the couch and watch film? And,
come on,
and we're just going to keep on winning here."
Yeah.
So it is a very different world for sure.
Andy, I always appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for making time. I'll talk to you real soon.
All right, see you guys.
Take care. Andy Staples, On 3 national host and writer, and we'll get him back on again real soon. In all likelihood, maybe not because of Mike leaving, maybe because of Mike staying. But anyhow, it'll be interesting one way or the other. Jeff Cameron Show. We'll come back and react to that in just a moment. 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Associated Builders and Contractors says there's a shortage of 500,000 construction workers across the country, but a program at Tallahassee Community College is working to boost the workforce. The Rebuild Florida program offers these certifications: carpentry, plumbing, electrical, and more in as little as 10 weeks. To apply, you must be at least 18, be a resident of Leon, Gadsden, or Wakulla counties, and provide proof of low to moderate income. After completing, TCC will help graduates get placed with their first job. A proposal banning people from driving the left lane on Florida's highways cleared its first hurdle. The Senate Transportation Committee unanimously approved the bill Wednesday morning. The bill would make it easier for police to pull someone over who is driving too slow in the left lane. The idea is to prevent people from passing in the right lane, which is already illegal. There is a similar proposal in the Florida House. Several other states already have similar laws in place. This is Rachel Lene with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. High temperatures reach up to 63 this afternoon under cloudy skies, southeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast skies tonight, chance for showers, lows dip down to about 50. Severe thunderstorms likely tomorrow. Highs level off around 72, overcast skies. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 57.
Hello, I'm Dana Brooks.
And I'm Jimmy Basic.
Traffic cameras are everywhere, providing valuable evidence if you've been in an accident.
But if you can't access that evidence, it could just be your word against theirs.
Basic Brooks is partnered with Roadproof to have access to all their traffic camera footage. If you've been hurt in an accident, give us a call and we'll find out if the proof you need is out there.
Let us find your video evidence so you can come back stronger. Call us now at 850-777-7777.
With tens of thousands of satisfied patients across America, it's no surprise QC Kinetics gets 5-star reviews.
I'm feeling on top of the world because of QC Kinetics.
I'm able to do the things that I wasn't able to do for a long time.
I can recommend them highly. I would recommend QC to anybody.
QC Kinetics has changed my life.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly was skeptical, but the pain went from a 10 to a 0.
Real people with real lasting relief from joint pain.
QC Kinetics Regenerative Medicine is regenerating me.
It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
This non-surgical approach is definitely the future.
I tell as many people as possible. I am an ambassador. I love QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. No drugs, no surgery. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 850-391-4280. That's 850-391-4280. 850-391-4280.
Excellence defines us, so we'll never let orthopedic pain and injury define you. TOC is a physician-led team of fellowship-trained specialists, providing the highest level of orthopedic care in the region. With 12 centers of excellence and TOC Now urgent care clinics, our patients access affordable, expert care fast. TOC, only experts. Schedule an appointment at teamtoc.com.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu. Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungalo, as I call it.
The pan con lechon, Jeff.
Is that what is the pork?
The pan con lechon, Jeff.
Okay. Pan con chocolate. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the WarChant.com Multimedia Network. Check out
Obviously, he's been a national college football reporter for most of his career, and I wanted to tap into the connections he had at Alabama. Now, amongst others, you know, it's interesting, Tom, welcome you in here now. We haven't had a chance to talk yet on the air together as we continue to follow this behind the scenes. I know that we've reached out to Florida State, and obviously if Mike is not going to be the next head coach at Alabama, we would love for him to come on the Jeff Cameron Show this afternoon live and tell us that in person. It'd be wonderful. It'd be great. No doubt it would be good for the show. It'd be good for the numbers and all that, but also it'd be great to just get the information out there, and it will be fascinating. I think the thing that you would do if you're not taking the job is respond as quickly as possible in however way you choose, whether it's this show or wherever, because at the end of the day, the reason Dan Lanning did what he just did, or any other coaches whose name will be out there being bantied about as a candidate, as a top 3 or 4 candidate, not the candidate, but a candidate, you would do that because you're still putting together your transfer portal class. You're still trying to keep together what you have. So whether this is Sarkisian, whether this is Mike Norvell, whether it's Dan Lanning, who just announced obviously earlier today in a video that he is not going to take the job at Alabama and will stay at Oregon. It really doesn't matter whether or not you were a top candidate, but rather that you are a candidate, and that can have a damaging effect on the class and people's confidence in wanting to choose your school. So while we're in the midst of this, towards the tail end of this, you would want to get that information out there if you're staying. There's that part of it. It's not surprising to me that Mike would be a candidate. I wouldn't think he'd be the top candidate, partly because of the way that maybe Alabama fans would perceive Mike Norvell and perceive his time here at Florida State. Now, irrationally or not, but there would be a lot of people who'd say he's not a big enough name, Tom, that our job, everybody thinks their job's the best job. And everybody thinks their school is the best school. But it's hard to argue with Alabama's success, money, facilities, and obviously pedigree. Now they would say, hey, we can do better than Mike Norvell. I might disagree with him, but that's the way I think the vast majority of those fans would view Mike.
Yeah, I think it's funny how quickly the game can change and how quickly the game can pass you by. Because, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, this would have been a Dabo versus Jimbo battle for the Alabama job, right? I mean, if you looked at the money line odds or the prop odds on who the next coach would be at Alabama 3 years ago, it would be Dabo followed by Jimbo or the other way around. But you're seeing with these short lists, like Andy's short lists on On3, that younger coaches are what it takes to succeed in this day and age. Younger coaches are what it takes to succeed in the era of NIL and the transfer portal. And what Mike has done is not nothing. So if you've been discounting what Mike Norvell has done as either a Florida State fan or a fan of Florida State's rivals, here's the proof you need. I mean, this is the ultimate compliment to Mike Norvell. And people are worried in the moment, every second that passes by, about the silence. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. He could take the job. He might not take the job. But I know what his agent will do in this moment. His agent is going to effort to get Mike Norvell the best deal. This is where I want to remind everybody that while the pendulum has swung too far to one side for the players when it comes to unlimited transfers and all the leverage that the players have, I enjoyed that we started that process because coaches do this all the time. Whether it's Mike Norvell or Jimbo every other year looking at LSU when he was here or whoever, anytime there's an opening, their agent goes to bat for their client to gain more leverage at the place they're at or to actually follow through and go to the next place. And I would imagine the silence in Texas, because forever and a day, we've got contacts over at Texas, this extension for Sark was supposed to come down. You don't think the number's going up by the second because of the opening at Alabama for Steve Sarkisian at Texas? Of course it is.
We know agents love this. It's a grand opportunity. It's also a chance to seize more power, not just money, but power.
Yeah.
In the decision-making process of how the program is run, how the athletic department is run. I mean, coaches, big-time football coaches do that. They levy this so that they can have an opportunity to have more say. And there has been quiet frustration behind the scenes about how long it has taken to start and embark on this football-only facility. Now, I'm not telling you that Mike is sitting around telling everybody, hey, this is ridiculous, and I'm going to be out of here the first chance I get. But it's again, a factor. It's something that has been mentioned before. I want to get to the bigger issue. The bigger issue at hand is that Florida State is in the ACC. And for as long as they are in the ACC, as we just found out firsthand, devastatingly so, they will be seen as and treated as a second-class citizen. This is what the ACC represents. It's not the SEC. It's not the Big Ten. The money, the gulf of money annually brought in by ACC teams compared to SEC and Big Ten teams is only going to grow larger. Agents and coaches are aware of this. Let's say Mike stays. Let's say Mike isn't given the opportunity to take the Alabama job, and let's say Mike doesn't want it. I don't care how you want to frame it, how you want to phrase it. But Mike's still the head coach. Florida State fans should always be concerned until we get the hell out of this conference and eat from the same money trough as schools in the Big Ten and the SEC. Because if you have a coach who has success, they're going to be targeted by the schools in those conferences, and they are going to be seen as an easy target. All they've got to do is come in and offer way more money than you could ever give them. Now, even if you want to match, you're still at a disadvantage for the reason that a coach in the ACC recognizes that they're second-class citizens and that they'll never get the benefit of the doubt if it comes down to their school or an SEC school or a Big Ten school. So if this year we were number 5 instead of number 4 and got screwed, next time it happens, we could be 12 or 13 or 14, and it's down on the line as to whether or not you make the college football playoff. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. You're viewed as lesser than. And it doesn't matter how much pride or love for school we have and how great we know that this job is, it's not as great a job as it is in the upper tier places in the Big Ten and the SEC financially. And whenever financial concerns are at play, we all know, if you've ever been involved in serious business discussions, there is something to worry about. The phrase follow the money is there for a reason. You have to understand that this is part of the dilemma that Florida State finds themselves in. And this is why it's a farce when you hear and or read national pundits dismissing Florida State as childish and brushing Florida State off as having been betrayed and therefore had their feelings hurt and reacting in a jealous and childlike manner. No, this is business, bitch. This is about the money. So when you've got a Pat Forty or anybody else acting as if they actually don't understand that, which is disingenuous, is a straight up lie, you know you can scoff at that kind of column or that kind of rhetoric because it is always going to be about the money. Look where college football is going. It's all about the money. And Florida State and every other school in the ACC gets less of it. And as long as that is the case, the coach at Florida State, Mike Norvell or whomever comes next, for as long as we're in this conference, will always listen to offers from rival conferences that you're recruiting against in your geographic footprint. And it stinks. They may not even want to go, but they're damn sure going to listen because they're at a disadvantage.
I think even if we were in the Power 2 right now, you would listen to Alabama anyway. You would listen to Texas.
Oh, it's Alabama.
Anyway.
Of course you would, yes.
But, because I think in that situation, well, actually one thing, just to clarify this, because I know how message boards work. When you're talking about concerns behind the scenes with perhaps the football-only facility, I know you know this, but just want it on the record. It's not to the level of Jimbo Fisher and facilities before the departure for A&M. Would you agree with that?
Correct. It's not.
Okay.
They've actually begun to forge ahead. Yes.
They got the new company in. They're starting to move it around. Here we go. Yeah, actually moving some dirt around here real soon, in addition to the stuff over at the stadium. But I do believe that even if you are in the Power 2 and your name is up for this job, you would be foolish if you're Dan Lanning or you're Sark if you didn't get some sort of concessions for this opportunity. Your agent, as much as I don't like Mr. Sexton, your agent would not be doing his job if you don't get some concessions in this particular moment. Am I advocating for it? No, I'm just saying that that's how it goes. That's how a situation like this goes. And Alabama doesn't open up in this state ever, like never in a lifetime, because it wasn't that way when Nick Saban took over. It is in pristine condition right now. And sure, you might not want to be the man who follows the legend, but when Nick took over that program, it was rubbish. It was rubbish, and he improved it to a place where, hey, man, if I'm going to take the keys to a car, you know what? Let me try. This is an all-time car to drive in this moment. And even if I only win one title over the next 5 years, that's one more title than I have now. I'm not saying that's what Mike should do. All I'm saying is these are human things that are at play in this moment. And the business thing that's at play is that the agent is going to go to bat for his client because the agent and the client have incredible leverage if their names are Norvell or Sark or DeBoer or Lanning before he took his name out of the running. I'll bet you he got a yes or two that maybe he didn't before this morning.
Well, and I think the other part of this is that fans mistake this idea of, well, loyalty and allegiance, and that a coach should feel the same way you do, having gone there or rooted for your team or whatever is the reason you're tied to Florida State. That's not this business, man. Look around. That's not this business. You see coaches go from their rivals onto your staff. Players now in this era of football leave your arch rival and come play for you, and nobody says boo. Look around at all of the coaches that are from certain regions of the country, of course, or went to school in a certain region of the country and then gladly take other jobs with their sworn enemies or in other conferences that they were rivals with, whatever it might be. That there's no real loyalty in college football, in the coaching profession, period. There's not. And so these coaches are always going to listen. It doesn't make them, I don't know, bad people. It just means that they have opportunities to leverage and create a situation. Somebody might say, well, how much more power would you need? Well, how about just being able to pay your assistant coaches more money to keep them on staff as opposed to being plucked by other universities, or having the ability to expand your coaching room by adding the analysts. I'm sorry, I was trying to think of the word analyst. Goodness. But we see this now time and again. Nick Saban started that, right? It was time and again that all of a sudden you looked around and you're like, well, they've got 35 people looking at third down tendencies for a game that's 4 weeks away. Yeah, they do. The fix is in. When you have more money, you can do more things. You can build better facilities. You can hire better coaches and retain said coaches, and you can have analysts for days and days and days. The list goes on and on. What you can do in recruiting, all of it. And so it would be naive to suggest that he wouldn't listen, or that his agent wouldn't very well. His agent's going to listen. I promise you that. It's his job to go back to Mike or anybody else that he's representing in this situation and say, here's what they're willing to do. What do you think? Is there anything else you'd want me to ask for? Because now's the time to strike. That's the way they view this.
Right, exactly. And it's not adversarial. It's just the business. It's the way it's done. And again, if I'm Mike Norvell and my representation is not doing that for me in this moment, then they're not doing their job.
Their job.
Now, I would like Mike to stay. Don't get me wrong. And my God, if I could just put the fan hat on only and not the cynical kid who grew up in the era of free agency. Because I deal with this easier than I think your generation does, because all I knew was the baseball strike and free agency and the Sports Center generation leading into, everybody promoting themselves. Like, that's a very natural part of my existence. But the fan part of me still in this moment says, is this the most turbulent follow-up to a 13-0 season in history? Because I believe it is. I believe it is. Why are we concerned about every little damn thing since the ACC championship game? Why?
Well, this is a run of bad luck for Florida State in that regard, and I shudder to think of what this feels like if it happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I have kicked around in my head what it feels like if it does, and the sort of the palms to the sky, are you kidding me? What else can go wrong sort of, why don't you just kick my dog while we're at it? I mean, everybody would feel sort of an exasperation that it's hard to fathom. But I will say that, again, I'm going to reiterate, we're in this position. Florida State is in this position for the foreseeable future. I don't know if you've given this thought, Tom, but okay, what if Alabama hires from within the SEC? They take another head coach already coaching in the SEC. So Lane Kiffin comes to mind, obviously. Now, let's just say it's Lane Kiffin or some other coach in the SEC, Sarkisian, Texas, right? And they take the job. Well, look, man, Mike is now a candidate for that job.
Yeah.
Mike's now the candidate for the Texas job or the Ole Miss job. And you're going to go through this again. This is a good thing in a way. It's not fun to deal with, but it's a good thing in this sense. That's how well Mike Norvell is thought of. That's how good a coach he is. He's going to be, and when we hired Mike Norvell, there was a lot of hand-wringing. We're going to bring in a mid-major guy. This guy's never coached at this level. It's a whole different thing. He kind of inherited the team he had at Memphis. Does he really? I mean, is he great? He's awfully young? Man, this is going to be, he has no ties to this state. How's he going to put together a staff and recruit? Can he really win? Remember, that's all the stuff, the negative stuff that's centered around his hire. Now, there were positives too. But we waited for this moment to see if he could succeed to the level that he has, to where he could become a candidate for the best job in college football in the eyes of many. That's how quickly he has risen up the ranks, and the success has proven to the point where we now know this is going to be the plight we find ourselves in, partly because of how well he's done and partly because of the sorry conference that we're in. I just keep thinking time and again, we can't get out of this place soon enough.
Yeah, my initial take last night when, we were all shocked about Saban's retirement was, all right, the two best outcomes in this moment are Dan Lanning takes the gig or Dabo somehow takes the gig. At that point, we're in no danger whatsoever. But Sark in Texas being, Mike identifies as being from Texas, like Dallas, those roots. That was one where I'm thinking, I don't know that Mike is in this. Last night, I know that the odds changed. Mike's right at the top right now, or near the top in terms of Vegas odds of who's going to be the next Alabama coach. But in that moment, I'm thinking Sark's more likely than Mike. But even if Sark says yes, yikes, because you got to deal with this for the Texas thing. And that's what's annoying here. And the other annoying thing, if we can just wallow in self-pity for just a moment, it's the human thing for all of us to do, is that if he rose to prominence, we didn't even get to really enjoy the spoils of the rise to prominence, because we went 13-0 and they told us we weren't good enough. And watch how they put their arm around Mike Norvell in Tuscaloosa if he goes over there. The only thing that you can say, unequivocally true, the benefit of this is the ride, which was a lot of fun, but then also he's left this program in such a better place than he found it. If it goes that way, hopefully it doesn't. But those are the things that the fan in me is going through right now. It's like, man, he took us all the way back, and then you said we couldn't finish the deal, and now you're gonna take him? Like, good Lord! Hopefully that's not what happens.
Again, yeah, we don't know that's going to happen, but we do know he's a candidate. There's no doubt that is true. This is not a made-up thing. He is certainly on the short list of people that Alabama is interested in, and we understand why. We understand why. He's been that kind of successful. So this is what happens. We got a whole other hour. We'll wait and see. We're still endeavoring to speak with Florida State and or Mike Norvell. Jeff Cameron. We still got, I thought it was seconds that you were holding up. Sorry. So we still got a minute here. But to that point, by the way, it's kind of on the go here right now. We got a lot of feelers out there. We got a lot of people, and all of our phones are blowing up as we do this because we're trying to get down to the bottom of what we can. I would love nothing more to be able to say on these airwaves today that Mike is staying, not taking the Alabama job. But I want to point out the scenarios by which we're not out of the woods yet. Because, again, if they hire within the SEC, and remember, Oklahoma and Texas are in the SEC now, and Texas could very well come open if that was the route they went with Steve Sarkisian, then all of a sudden you're probably going through this same rigmarole again.
Maybe this should be more the business side of things where we do what we're supposed to do, or maybe in the next 60 seconds, you can share your personal feelings. I'm sure a lot of people want to know your personal feelings about where things stand right now.
I'm concerned. I am concerned that it's a reality that could happen. It could play out in a way that doesn't work out for us. And I would be saddened. I wouldn't begrudge Mike Norvell. I'd be disappointed. I've been worried ever since. Look, the committee, ESPN and others, basically let you know where you stood regarding your place in the hierarchy. In Florida State, for all of its cachet and success and being part of the larger fabric of the great college football game that we've watched kind of really become a mess, is right now a rung below because of the situation that we're in financially. So I worry about it. I'm going to continue to worry about it. We may get a reprieve today. We'll see. Hour number 2 forthcoming. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Billers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mndlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
This is Jamie McClenny with Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Despite the highest global interest rates in almost 2 decades, inverted yield curves, conflicts in the Middle East, and 3 of the largest bank failures in U.S. history, equities and bond markets have posted stellar returns for 2023. The Dow Jones, the NASDAQ 100, and the Russell 2000 all reached new highs as markets rallied on the expectations of Fed pauses, Fed easing, and Fed bank bailouts. Markets are going to do what markets are going to do, but a clearly defined risk management protocol can help to mitigate large drawdowns in your retirement nest egg. If you're concerned where all this might be headed, call me at 850-900-5200 and let's talk about ways to mitigate the risk in your portfolio.
Make Jamie your first call for that second opinion. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool.
Your heating and air conditioning system doesn't check with you before it takes a break. That's why we're always ready to help. Any day, anytime, anywhere. And with our annual service agreement, there are no overtime charges. Ever. At Verno Heating and Air, we will always be there for you.
Barry knows heating and air conditioning.
License CAC 1816186.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT. Greta, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles wrap up Wild Card Weekend Monday night at Raymond James Stadium. The Eagles are the 3-point favorite with a total of 44. Baker Mayfield passing prop bet on the board, over under 234.5 passing yards, 1.5 touchdowns. It shaded to the under, minus 150. The Buccaneers won the NFC South title with a 9-8 record. They have won 3 consecutive games as an underdog. Their Super Bowl odds are 60-1. Miami Dolphins on Saturday visit the Kansas City Chiefs as a 4.5-point dog, the total 44. Get your free VSiN subscription right now at VSIN.com. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie bundles let you create your own delicious combo. Choose from a sausage biscuit, egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, and a medium hot coffee. But it's obvious which combo's the best. Sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes. Well, maybe it's the fresh cracked egg and cheese biscuit with a medium hot coffee. Or 2 savory sausage biscuits. Yeah, whichever you pick, you can't go wrong. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie bundles.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in the combo. Single item at regular price.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Orthopedic pain and injury deserves effective treatment options now, so you feel better fast. Whether you have joint pain that won't subside or an urgent orthopedic injury, we are the specialists to get you back on your feet. And there's only one thing better than fast care: expert care. We believe you deserve both. TOC, only experts. Learn more at teamtoc.com.
I'm Stephanie, and I work for Paul's Termite and Pest Control. I've been working here for over 11 years, and to say making the switch to Paul's has been life-changing is an understatement. First, we provide a service that truly helps people protect the health of their families and pets from disease-carrying bugs and rodents, plus their homes from destructive termites. So when I go to work every day, what I do really makes a difference. Second, I have grown professionally in the company. I was hired by Paul's in customer service, and now I'm the customer service leader. While my responsibilities have grown, so have my pay and benefits. It's such a blessing to work with friends doing something that helps people, plus being well paid. If you're in a job that provides minimal pay and satisfaction, we have openings right now. Paul's employees receive many benefits like CHP, 401k, paid vacations, and holidays. We work Monday through Friday and provide extensive training so no experience is required. Call today to learn how we can improve your life.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4,
relay to you information that we're getting. I'm not giving you rumors or anything of that ilk right now. We're just kind of monitoring the situation as it takes place, as it plays out. I will say, Tom, moments ago, I spoke to a few sources that feel like Florida State's in a good spot right now. They too felt some concern overall, but I will say that they felt pretty good that Florida State's in a good spot, but no guarantees were given. No guarantees were given. Now, again, what I'm going to say here is that this, regardless if this works out for us and Mike Norvell stays, and I think the vast majority of us want Mike Norvell to stay here for the foreseeable future. He's done a very good job. Still has more work to do, and it would feel unfinished and all of those things. And you've just had a good week in the portal, and you're continuing to build your roster and all that good stuff. But I'll say in a lot of ways, maybe this is a good thing to have had happen. Because, again, it reminds you, if you're Mike Alford or anybody else over there, how vigilant you have to be. And I don't know about you. Now, this is a thought I had driving along on the way in. When Mike's name came up in regards to the Alabama job, I thought, well, isn't it strange? Not that you'd be able to, if he was of the mind that he wanted the job, Alabama's going to outbid you if that's what it comes down to. But in my mind, I thought, well, how odd is it that we're going to give the staff extensions before we would give Mike an extension? Like, why does Randy Shannon getting an extension before Mike Norvell would here at this point is what I was thinking, Tom. That's all.
I got to give you credit, because before I could somehow tie Zaxby's into this whole thing, you tied in Randy Shannon to this whole thing. So I got to give you credit that you have patchworked your way into Florida State's linebackers coach into the top of the hour on a day where we're talking about Mike Norvell. That's funny stuff. That's classic.
It's actually impressive, but it's also legitimate. Like, why would you?
Well, okay.
So, no, we don't have to entertain that. It's just a thought I had driving on in here to the studio. Just kind of,
Okay, here's what I would say. Here's the good news if it ends up okay for Florida State and Mike Norvell remains with the Noles. I don't think he would leave. Now, I get it. Things are fluid. But I don't think he would leave for a college football job at any point henceforth. Like, short of Florida State being stuck in the ACC and losing the lawsuit, like straight up losing the lawsuit, at that point, I wouldn't call Florida State perfectly bulletproof from having Mike poached to go elsewhere. Right. But damn it, man, if he turned down Alabama and there was legitimate interest and we find that,
you'd have to be able to prove it. Yeah, you'd have to. I'd want to know he turned it down as opposed to he didn't make the final list. That he was one of 3 or 4 guys, and it was really never offered to him, but it was kind of thrown out there to his agent. Because, yes, in that situation, maybe. But listen, man, the LSU job's a good job. Let Brian Kelly fool around and lose 3 and 4 games the next 2 years again. I mean, we're in the ACC. This ain't changing. Not right now. I mean, a whole nother year we have to wait another year. I ask you, let's say there's no progress on the legal front for 6, 7, 8 months. And then Florida State goes out and has another banner year. And then a whole new wave of job openings happen, several in the Big Ten or the SEC. And we're still sitting out here in limbo in regards to which conference. Well, man, you're going to lose the guy.
Nah, short of maybe Texas. I don't think so. What, Ole Miss opens up? Whoop the freaking do. I don't think at that point it's Alabama and it's pristine condition. Nick is leaving you the car. It's like I know somebody, a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, just purchased a car for one of their kids, and it's in pristine condition because an old person had it and they passed away. So like this is a fantastically taken care of automobile that you could have the keys to. It's not Ole Miss in a state of perhaps, disrepair. It's not another Power 2 program in a state of disrepair. If we get through this hurdle, to me, I think the next hurdle would come in college football several years down the line.
But the pro football.
Pro football would be the bigger threat. Pro football would be the larger
threat. And understandably, because the college game is a GD mess. None of these coaches are in any way happy with what's happening in college football. That includes Nick Saban, which is one of the many reasons I'm sure that he chose at the end of the day to ride out. Having to re-recruit your roster on a daily basis and worry about somebody poaching your players on a daily basis. Good God, man, you can never relax. There are people that will tell you that Kirby Smart hates what's happening in college football. And people at Georgia are concerned that if he's a legitimate candidate for the Falcons job, you've heard that whisper that he's a candidate for nobody more popular in Georgia right now than Kirby Smart. He can clearly run an organization. I don't know if he'd be a good NFL coach or not. Doesn't matter. The point is his name's been whispered. Now, I don't think he's going to the Falcons. The point is there are a lot of people at Georgia who say, man, I'm a little concerned. The coaches are livid with what's happened to the game and the constant threat to their roster, the worry. They don't care that players are getting paid. They care that it's not regulated. How much? Is it even across the board? When can you? When can't you? They hate the fact that people are poaching players from their roster because then they have to turn around and do it too. It makes them engage in the very thing that they loathe because it's a dereliction of duty if you're not. Mike Norvell and staff should be trying to poach elite players off of the rosters of great teams, and they know it's being done to theirs. That's no way to be on a daily basis. That sucks.
Yeah.
You don't even know who you're going to walk onto the practice field with come, spring football, and if you have it out and you've already made millions and an NFL team comes calling you, watch more and more of these coaches in college. They're going to ride out unless something changes for the better.
Well, and that's where I talked about this last night too, when we did a reaction video. I don't know what powers could imbue Nick Saban with the authority, but my sincere hope is that Nick Saban's next chapter is the first commissioner
czar of college football. Yeah,
he's got the stature to do it. I don't know how you make it work. I guess the networks and the Power 2 conferences would have to give you the blessing, but man, this is the stature of a person in the game who has coached at all levels, professional and college. He's coached at all different parts of the country that are relevant to this discussion, save for the West Coast, but that's okay. He's coached big-time college football. He's coached the little guys, position coach, NFL, position coach, or coordinator. Man, he could do some good to help clean this thing up so that you're not constantly afraid of the professional threat to college football. The only thing that's keeping these coaches here is their salaries are absurd. Their salaries are absurd, and I imagine that Mike Norvell's is about to get a lot more absurd, one way or the other. It's going to get into, I would think, the 8 figures. Was he at $8 million right now?
$8 million going in, 8 point whatever going into this year, and then into next year, it may go up. I mean, listen, I doubt it's.
He's going double digits, man.
Listen, agents do what they do, so sure, he's going to get a bump. For Mike, I don't think it's about whether it's $8 million or $11 million. It may be what the money represents. That's what it was for Jimbo. Jimbo was less worried about the 60, 70, 80 million and more about what it represented. But to most coaches, when you're making $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 million a year and you got other money, that's just your salary. Those guys, yeah, man, listen, it's easy for me to sit here and say, well, if I'm making $8 million, why do I need 10? Because it's $2 million more than 8. Yeah, I got it. But at some point, you've got the money you need. You got all that. Now you start you want to win championships. You want to be in a position to compete at the highest level and win championships every year. My fear for a Florida State coach right now is this feeling that they are, again, not on the same plane of those that they seek to compete against. That is very frustrating and dangerous. For as long as we're stuck in this sad sap, sorry-ass Jim Phillips run dump of a conference, we are going to be subject to these kinds of threats, meaning if you do well here in any sport, Big Ten, SEC, university says, go get her, go get him, go get that person who's kicking ass in these other sports because we've got more money than we know what to do with because we have the best TV contracts.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's going to be an existential threat until Florida State comes to that settlement number. So I would ask you this in turn. Mike Norvell stays at Florida State. and whatever happens on the surface for a raise, or we hear about more support staff, the organization of Florida State football grows in some measure. Do you believe that would be some sort of indirect or tacit endorsement that he believes our case to get out of the ACC is strong?
Oh, man.
I would think he'd have to believe it. If he thinks it's 50-50 and Alabama's calling, that makes it a lot tougher. I mean, you could love Tallahassee, but that makes it a lot tougher of a decision when it's you alone in a room or you sitting across the table from your wife and saying, what do you think? What do you think? What should we do? Like the inner circle moments, that would make it tough if you don't believe that we're going to get out of this thing. But if you do, and you can make a couple more bucks along the way and, make this organization get more yeses than you've been getting about the bells and the whistles, then I think you'd stay. I think you just do it and you'd stay.
I think there's something to finishing what you started and having built relationships and rapport, and then having the finances to do what you want to do and see it through. If you think, like you just noted, that this is going to work out in Florida State's favor in the next 2-3 years, if you think it's going to take longer than that, I think you've got wandering eyes every year you're here. And I get it. I hate it and I get it. They may hate it. A coach that's here now may not want to leave. I'm not just talking about Mike Norvell. A coach that's here now may do great things at Florida State and not want to leave, but know that they're behind the 8 ball, and that if given the opportunity with a salary raise and no promising future in a second-class conference, they'd have to take it, even if they love it here, even if they didn't want to leave. We've talked about this a lot. That's how business works, right? The opportunities. They come your way, and you have to listen. And you assess. I mean, this is my greater concern for Florida State every year we're here. I'm more worried about that. There's a part of me that's a little worried right now that Alabama hires Sarkisian and we lose Mike to Texas, because I think he would take the Texas job.
Well, that to me is the larger concern. Now, there are some people around the Texas program that believe that maybe Steve said no, that he's got, like, if he's thinking about it now, I built Texas into this thing, and why would I put myself into a precarious position to be the successor to Nick with fewer bells and whistles than Texas might have it at its peak operation? Like, my job approval rating is in the 90+ stratosphere at Texas. In Alabama, people are already asking me why I'm not Nick Saban. That's like the first question I get at the introductory press conference. Why aren't you Nick? Why isn't Nick here? Why do you think Nick
that's
retired?
That's anybody that takes that job next. Yeah, that's the downside of it.
That's what I'm saying. In this moment, the resources are there at Texas. The interest is through the roof. They're finally back, quote unquote, because they made the playoff.
I'm not saying I would do it, but it is a concern.
Yeah,
I
agree.
It is a concern, and if he takes that job, and then I think Mike would be a logical candidate for the Texas job, and a good one. And I could see, given his ties, that maybe he would take it. Now, there are, as you said, and I had that same thing texted to me, and some others have spoken on it, and we do have ties to the folks at Texas, that it looks like Sark is interested in sticking around Texas. Hey, look, for years, I would make fun of Texas on this show with my leaning towards Oklahoma and the family that has graduated from Oklahoma. And I would always make fun of Texas, that they had all of the resources and the alumni, and they had prestige, and they had facilities, and they had the want to be great. And they had the region to recruit, where the kids that play football in that state, it's a maniacal following with state-of-the-art facilities for kids in high school. All of these things, right? And yet they couldn't out-recruit and beat Oklahoma. Like, hardly ever. Including, hell, that's their loss this year, right? So it's just been it's been a strange sort of deal, but we always knew, all of us, that, well, gosh, it's not money. They're never going to have a problem with money, and they're never going to have a problem with facilities, and they're never going to have a problem with the chain of command, meaning the top on down wants to win in football as well. So if they get the right guy, they should start winning, and he is now winning. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's also something to this where, if maybe the administration of Alabama wants you, but the fan base wouldn't be all that fired up about you, there's something to it. Monetary value can better this and best this when you're making a decision. But there's something to it about being, the ideal person for a fan base, like Mike is right now. Like what Mike has done in Tallahassee puts him in a place like where Sark is, right? Your job approval is through the roof. People would run through fire for you. You could have a running of the Gumps if you wanted to. You could have one. He's at that level to get his autograph next spring or next fall camp. If you go to Bama, your seat's already kind of warm when you take that job.
Oh, sure.
That's got to be worth something in the consideration game, too. It's not just about the following the legend thing. It's like, man, am I the best available or am I the one? You know, like if I'm the best available of what's out there in the coaching pool, all right, that's one thing. And if he had a warm seat at Tallahassee, then I think you'd be more apt to say yes. But if I'm the best of what's out there versus the guy who is going to be the torchbearer that's going to continue the legacy of Nick Saban, two very different things. Two very different things.
Here's good news. Right now, Vegas odds have Mike as the second most likely to get the job. DeBoer is number one at Washington. So, good. Go ahead and make that higher. Make that higher. Let's get on it. Let's get on it. Dave, you ain't going to do any better. You're stuck out there in rainy-ass Seattle. Take it on over to Alabama. It's a win-win for all of us if he takes that job.
That way, Mike Norvell is the Zaxby's of head coaches. You know, you want to keep that brand power. I don't know what DeBoer is because I don't want to throw a competitor's name out there, give him some free love. But you go ahead, you get that second-rate stuff. We'll keep that upper-level stuff right here, right now for a Golden Chief booster for 19 years. And I'll bet you, buddy,
yeah,
if and when he stays, how many more of these Zaxby's will be erected in Tallahassee proper?
He should erect some after DeBoer leaves Seattle, out in Seattle, because I love Seattle, by the way. I'm out there often. It's a wonderful city, but I'm just telling him now it rains too much. You got to come to Alabama. He's like, wait a minute. I'm going to go from a fun and sophisticated city like Seattle. I'm going to go to Alabama, am I? Okay. Just for now, keep the Zaxby's right here, Danny. 19 years as being a Golden Chief booster and 109 locations in Tallahassee. Ensure that we love you. And tasty, tasty Zaxby's. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit isf.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Fasig.
And I'm Dana Brooks of Fasig Brooks Law Offices.
When you're in an accident, traffic cameras can be the best source of evidence to prove who's at fault.
That's why Fasig Brooks has partnered with RoadProof to have access to all their traffic camera footage.
With RoadProof, we can search our network of traffic cameras to find the evidence that could help you win your case.
Call us today to see if we can help find the proof to help you come back stronger.
Call us now at 850-777-7777.
I'm Greg Tisch, and I want to share how it all began at Tallahassee Community College. During a quiet moment on a fishing trip in 1963, FSU President Gordon Blackwell looked to Lewis Hill, who was a member of the Leon County Board of Public Instruction, and said, "Lou, why don't you get a junior college?" When Lou told Gordon he felt the college would compete with FSU, Gordon responded, "Nah, you ought to have one." We don't know if they caught any fish that day, but they did catch a big idea.
TCC thanks our community for 58 years of support. We look forward to moving into the future together.
Zaxby's Sensation Salad is so much more than a plain old salad. It's a salad, which begs the question, at what point does a salad stop being a salad and become a salad? Is it when you add Zaxby's fried chicken to it? Crunchy wontons? Asian slaw? Citrus vinaigrette? Teriyaki glaze? Sweet and spicy sauce? Or is it when you top it all with a handmade perfectly fried egg roll? Without a doubt, the egg roll. The Sensation Salad, only at Zaxby's.
some of those old injuries, they begin to creep up and things begin to start hurting again. I finally got to the point where I'm like, I can't just wake up and know my knee's going to be bothering me and push through this on a daily basis.
Old football injuries can't keep former college and pro football player Bobby Carpenter down. So he decided to check out the all-natural regenerative pain treatments at QC Kinetics.
I was fortunate enough to obviously sit down with QC and kind of understand your body still has the ability to heal in it. We just need to give it a little bit of a boost.
Exactly. QC Kinetics concentrates your body's own healing agents in your painful hips, shoulders, knees, or back.
Everyone can say, well, you need to replace this or replace that, but it's no surprise to see people being willing to try this first, especially when it has such great results.
QC Kinetics treatments take place the same day right in the office. No downtime. Call today for your complimentary consultation and see if you're a good candidate.
Call QC Kinetics, 850-391-4280. That's 850-391-4280. 850-391-4280.
Widden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Widden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the WarChant.com Multimedia Network. Check out WarChant.com today for the latest news in
might be a candidate and who would take the job and who makes sense and who's a proper fit and all that. And, you know, you can't help yourself because it's like the list season that we always talk about. As soon as we get into list season, I find myself to be a sucker. I click on all of those lists and read them and, you know, laugh and chuckle and point these things out. I do the same thing for coaching searches, but partly because I love laughing at invariably, let's say you have a list of 7, there's always 1 or 2 where you're like, really? And, or even 5. But if you get to 10, there's always going to be at least 3 absurd coaches presented. And yesterday was no different when I read Adam Rittenberg's piece on Florida. I mean, excuse me, today. This was earlier today on the best coaching candidates for the Alabama job. And so you started with kind of the usual and no particular order. You had Lane Kiffin, he had Dan Lanning, Dabo Sweeney, and I'm just kind of reading through the write-up on all these guys. Obviously, I'm familiar with their resumes. Kalen DeBoer, and we're like, yeah, here we go. Let's look at Kalen DeBoer. He's only 49. I couldn't remember how old he was, so I was like, oh, that's interesting. Then there's Mike Norvell's name. Tom, did you see the same list I did? Because you know who's on it?
Can I take a couple guesses?
You got one guess.
One guess. Oh, come on. I'm taking too fast. Lovie Smith or Matt Campbell?
No, James effing Franklin.
Oh.
Can you imagine how angry the people at Alabama would be if they hired James Franklin to replace Nick Saban? Yeah. My man hasn't won an important game in years. Years and years. He loses every time they play somebody who's even halfway decent.
Well, and he could pull a Pacino in any given Sunday and bring Aller with him and say, I want everybody to meet your new quarterback.
Oh, my God. Here. Man, it's a long time removed from when James Franklin got to Penn State after those sanctions for ignoring child rape and got it turned around to a place where they won the Big Ten title. Was that 2016, Matthew? 2016 is when that happened. It's 2024. He hadn't done a damn thing in nearly 10 years. That guy being put on a list is comical. But it was on there. And then it got me. I was like, man, please let this happen. Please. I just want to see the faces of the people at that press conference.
Jeff, what about Greg Schiano? What do you think about the taskmaster? I mean, if you think about it as a taskmaster, it's a great handoff from Nick Saban to Greg Schiano.
Just hilarious. Solving the future would be getting out of this conference. We love our friends at ISF. Let's solve for the future now. Go ahead and give Mike another extension. By the way, he's extended already just a year ago through 2029. But by all means, let's please get back to the table and give him another extension and more money, because that's the way the game is played. I understand it. Do that. I would require maybe with this extension to make a couple of changes on the staff. That'd just be me. I'll try to sneak it in there, Tom. I'll try to sneak it in real quick. But that said, it really does continue to come back to not just we're no longer willing. ISF will collaborate with those that they work with, and they do a great job, and they advance technology, and they're able to help really streamline the process, a more efficient way of doing business, and whatever it might be, whether working with the fine folks at the Guardian, Ad Litem, all of it, right? We've documented what ISF does across the country, from right here in Tallahassee, which is awesome. But they do so by taking these original ideas that people have maybe in state government, for example, and then saying, oh, yeah, we can help you. What is it you want to do? They don't just come in and tell them, right? Yeah, but we're not doing that anymore in the ACC. And thank God we're not taking the approach that ISF has, which is a really fair-minded and efficient, smart way to do business. F that. The ACC revealed themselves. We got to ride. There's no collaborating, nothing. It's double middle fingers. And every time something like this happens, I'm reminded of how quickly this needs to get done. Please, please do the opposite of what our friends do at ISF. Collaborate not at all. Get out of this dump.
I do want to say, first of all, I'm very proud of you, because typically when you say double middle fingers, you put them to the sky for the cameras.
Usually I do it for the screen, yeah.
On a day like today, I think that's a smart play that you did not go down that route. But yeah, there's no doubt here that whatever direction you're going to go for the long-term future, Florida State football, meaning whatever Mike Norvell decides, let's wrap that up here by about Saturday. We got kids that are supposed to be arriving on campus for the portal for ads to Florida State football. You know, that window would start opening up for Florida State if there's a coaching change of 30 days before you could have, some of your current roster enter the portal once again, and you got to bring in a new guy. Let's just, whatever it's going to be, limbo, as you like to say, is the worst possible thing for the health of Florida State football. Because how many kids do you think have reached out to this coaching staff and say, hey, what's going on? What gives? Because if he's leaving, I'm leaving. Like, let's not go there. Let's get an answer, and let's get it there quickly. Whatever you got to do to hammer out the details. If you want to solve for the future and the distance, solve for the future in the next 24 to 36 hours. Get it done, whatever it is.
By the way, on a serious note, all jokes aside, I think that's exactly what will happen if Mike is staying. I think that will be done, and by done, I mean today. Now, it can be a little tricky. These are big contracts with big numbers, and you've got to be buttoned up. It's not a yes, yes, nod, nod, wink, wink, hey, shake hands, feeling good. No, they're going to have to get it done. It'll have to be done, and I get all that, and it can be complicated. But I do think it is in all of their best interest. It's in the university's best interest, Mike Alford's best interest, and Mike Norvell's best interest to get this behind them so that they can continue to solidify what has been a very good week. Florida State, that gets lost in today's news, and this concern that continued to pick up as the hours went by. This was always something that you were going to be a little worried about, because Mike has done a very good job. Even if you didn't think he was the top candidate, you knew he could be a candidate. And then as soon as Dan Lanning released the video saying he wasn't going anywhere, you thought, well, this gets ratcheted up a little bit. So you have to pay it proper attention. But the bottom line is Florida State's had a good week. They've improved their stock quite a bit from where we were this time last week, where there was growing concern that you weren't sealing the deal with some kids, and there were some other guys out there taking more visits. So you want to nip this in the bud, be done with it, come out and announce he's here, he's not going anywhere, we're all good to go. Doesn't mean, by the way, I don't care what that contract ends up reading as, it does not mean you're not going through this again in a year or two if you're still stuck here. Because as you correctly point out, Tom, Yeah, $4 million for his buyout right now seems palatable to a lot of people. Bama doesn't care about $4 million, $20 million, $15 million. It could be $65 million. If they want him, they're going to just pay the $65 million. They don't care.
Yeah, that's the difference between being the one versus being the best of the available bunch. And that's where if I'm leaving this situation, oddly enough, even though I'd be going from ACC to SEC, if I'm leaving this situation, I want to know that, hey, man, if we've got a weird first year or two of transition, you're not putting my ass on the hot seat after a couple of years. And I don't know that Alabama could give that assurance in this particular position. Now, what I would ask you for clarification on, and I think you would probably agree with this, like, it might not be that Florida State's out of the ACC by 2025, but maybe the announcements, the settlement, it's all in place. As long as that is there, then you're fine, right? As long as the contract or the settlement agreement or whatever it is litigated and complete, that's good enough, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, now the horizon is bright. You feel good. You feel like, okay, we've got a real shot here. Yeah, if you don't get something along those lines where you can say definitively, I would even take, Tom, I know this is going to it would leave us all antsy and frustrated, but like we talk about with limbo being the worst of the worst, if we have a degree of certainty, even if that certainty is 2026, 2027, as we're talking about, it's something, if you just tell me it's not 2036 and it's well before 2030,
yeah.
All right. I don't know how far I'd stretch it. Like if they said, okay, well, it's worked out.
I could tell you exactly how far. However far it needs to be for the next freshman class I'm bringing in. To say by the time you're an upperclassman, you're going to be playing.
We're in the SEC, yeah.
Yeah, I think that. So if this is the class of 25 that I'm recruiting for in this moment for next year, junior day's coming up in 2.5 weeks, whatever. Okay. If I can tell those kids that by the time they're a redshirt sophomore or a junior, they're going to be playing in a Power 2 conference, that's the perfect amount of time necessary. And I think that's 26 or 27.
Yeah. I want desperately for that to be 26, Tom. Or 25 would be better, but I know 2024, we're here. We know we're playing in the ACC. We know that we're going to Dublin and we're going to compete obviously against Georgia Tech. And we know that we'll be at Notre Dame, and the schedule's actually kind of fascinating. I'm kind of happy we're not having to give up that schedule, but I'm fine with telling 2025 to go to hell and start from scratch in one of the big two. Our thanks to our friends at ISF as they help government clients solve the future. And they've done so for 4 decades, well over 80 unique clients served on over 1,500 projects all around the country. And they help you do this with process, strategy, technology. And, by the way, you want to know more, ISF.com. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Cairo Police Department is requesting any information on the whereabouts of 62-year-old Jennifer Lynette McClinton Bennett. Last contact was on January 2nd, but no further contact has been made. Bennett is believed to be driving a black 2016 Jeep Cherokee Sport displaying Georgia tag number RVD6849. If you have any information regarding the whereabouts of Jennifer Lynette McClinton Bennett, please notify the Cairo Police Department immediately at 229-378-3096. The top leaders of the city of Tallahassee, Leon County, and Leon County Schools met on Wednesday and talked about ongoing issues with K-12 students. At the top of Superintendent Rocky Hanna's list was students being absent. Data shows in the first 9 weeks of school, about 27% of students were what's considered chronically absent. Alternative sanctions such as mandatory community service hours, counseling, mental health services, mandatory vocational job training, or employment services can also be ordered. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. High temperatures reach up to 63 this afternoon. Under cloudy skies, southeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast skies tonight, chance for showers, lows dip down to about 50. Severe thunderstorms likely tomorrow. Highs level off around 72, overcast skies. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 61 degrees.
Keeping power reliable and affordable here in Florida is our most important commitment. At Duke Energy, we're working across our communities, strengthening our systems, rerouting power to help avoid outages, and adding proven innovations that will help make the grid stronger and more secure today and ready for tomorrow. Because Florida deserves more reliable and affordable power. And we're determined to deliver it. Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bangka lechong, Jeff.
Is that what is the pork?
The bangka lechong, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the WarChant.com Multimedia Network. Check out WarChant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics.
Feel good the longer this goes on, I guess. Although I would like to get an announcement of some sort. Maybe just waiting until that. Maybe just waiting until the end of the contract negotiation before making one big official announcement. I don't know. Maybe. Still don't have. I don't know. It hasn't completed yet the alleviating of the fears. Right? Hasn't happened yet. Still nervous a little bit. Less so than when we started.
It feels, I don't know if in the balance is the right term. I see people on the chat are worried about what happened in the tribal council. That's the one thing we typically read these things as we're going in the show. We're doing the show, so I'll figure out what's going on there. But it's just whatever the resolution is going to be, I go back to this. The sooner you can have it, the better you can begin the business once again of fortifying your roster. If Mike comes back, then we have gotten off to a very, very good start in this window of the transfer portal. You know, it was a little after 10 a.m. this morning on the East Coast that they announced officially that Lolo Hea, the defensive end from Oregon State, is a part of the fold. You know, it's like that's that extra official step. So it was business as usual until about lunchtime today. And Mike Norvell was honored as the Paul Bear Bryant Coach of the Year last night. So I know that Nick Saban was going business as usual until he wasn't yesterday, but you know, the operation hasn't gone quiet like it did before Jimbo left, to put it that way, because that operation went dead silent for weeks.
We have not heard back from Florida State, for those that have asked. We've yet to hear back from Florida State. We wanted to get, obviously they're not going to say anything if they're in the midst of some sort of negotiation or they're in a crisis mode right now with no resolution. But we have, just for people who are wondering, did you reach out? Yeah, we did. We absolutely did. And, you know, this goes back, if you missed the first hour, I had Andy Staples on partly because of his national connections, but also what he wrote about the candidacy there at Alabama. And he had several coaches. He had Mike Norvell atop that list. And I think that probably began some of the concern. And then it got to be more and more and more that that wasn't going away. As we recap, Dan Lanning, who was considered to be a candidate, released a statement on video that he wasn't taking the job. That seemed to elevate the concern in Florida State's camp, understandably. If you're, let's just say there's 4 candidates or thereabouts, and one of them comes out and says, you know, I'm not leaving. Well, now we're down to about 3 that they've been looking at closely. And one of those guys was rumored to have signed his deal and turned down the offer at Alabama, and that would be Steve Sarkisian. So then you'd be down to about 2, which is DeBoer and Norvell. That's not to say there aren't other candidates. We don't know of them. These were the names that I was vetting with Andy. And it's 2:45, right? It's 2:45 on a Thursday, and we can't resolve this. This is not over. We're still waiting. It's still something to be concerned about, I think. But at the same time, I feel like we've heard enough of a buzz from people over there that something's being worked on. I don't know if it's a contract for Norvell or if it's last-minute wrangling as Norvell gets set to maybe make an announcement we're not going to like. I don't know. We can't get it figured out just yet because the rumors are running wild, and there are people coming in on behalf of both of those scenarios.
Yeah, and I think no matter what, no matter which way it goes in the end, if Florida State wasn't feeling uneasy at this point, and I'm talking about the institution, not the fan base, not you and me, like the institution, if they weren't feeling uneasy in this moment, then Mike's agent would not be doing his job. If nothing else, no matter what Coach Norvell's intentions are, this is an incredible opportunity to assert more power at Florida State in terms of decision making or budget, or it could be capital in the form of people in terms of organization, support staff, things like that. This is a tremendous opportunity to get more yeses on things that maybe they said, come to me next quarter or come to me next year, and maybe we can make that work. And if there's a checklist of things you want to get done, now's your time to get full commitments and get commitments now on getting some of those things done at Florida State. Or it could be that in earnest, his agent is negotiating with Alabama. We'll find out soon, and we'll know those backstories after the fact. But, if Florida State wasn't at least a little uneasy right now, then, yeah, Mike's camp wouldn't be doing what it's supposed to do.
Ira Schafel, Warchant.com, put on the message boards at Warchant.com at 2:35 that he had a couple of conversations with people connected to FSU who are at the very least concerned about the situation. Went on to say that he didn't have it confirmed that an offer from Alabama was made or is imminent, but two different people in two separate conversations let him know that they are very concerned. Yeah, that's the same thing I was told and we came on the air with, right, was that there was real concern over there. And that's why when we came in here, you took it seriously. You had to sit down and say, look, man, enough about what we want to happen or what we hope happens. Enough about, this conversation around, well, Mike would never do that. I mean, those are emotions talking. And that's not the way this business works. So we took it seriously, and we've continued to try to follow up on this. The fact that we're not able to get anybody from FSU pinned down. They're not willing to talk on the record or to come on the show right now. Really, nobody from FSU has spoken on the record of this situation. Not to Corey or Ira or me or you or Matt or anybody. So until they do, until there's an announcement of an extension for Mike Norvell or something of the like, this will be the topic of the day. This will be all that we can think about, because it is hard not to kick around in your mind how disastrous this would be if it happened. Yeah, it's impossible not to think about it, Tom, because of everything you just got done doing, not just the winning season and all that, 13-0, and all these recruits, all the stuff that's just been worked on in the portal, all of it, it's up for grabs.
It would be up for grabs everywhere until you could make something happen quickly in terms of stabilizing the situation and bringing a new person in. What I do know is, and it's going to happen for you, for me, for any dialed-in Knoll who's got a group chat, about the topic. Anytime your phone the rest of the day goes, until this is done, you're going to be like, oh, is this the news? Was this the alert? Is this the thing that we get to know what the final deal is? Warchant.com has had updates on the tribal council running since yesterday, I do believe, but it's a thread that's ongoing, and that's where we're pulling that quote from Ira from that I'll put up again. But it's echoing the sentiments of things that we've heard over the course of the couple of hours. But I would just say this isn't in contention with what's posted at the bottom of the screen. If Norvell's agent and camp is doing what they're supposed to do, you're damn right we should be concerned. One way or the other, whether it's a ploy to stay and gain a little bit more control or concessions, or to actually leave. But if Florida State wasn't feeling concerned, then Norvell's team wouldn't be doing what they're supposed to do. I just keep coming back to that.
Ed, I see you there in the chat, and I could use a strong cup of your delicious coffee, sir. He writes, who would we want to replace Norvell if he leaves? And it's funny because I was not even kicking that around in my head necessarily as we were going through this, but it is something that as the show has gone on, I began to think about a little bit. And I keep coming back to this same problem, which is that I think we're going to be dealing with this kind of angst and hand-wringing over a coach, any successful coach that's at Florida State, for some time because of the conference that we're in. And I'm a broken record at this point, obviously. It's just over and over again we get to this. That also affects the job search. Florida State was told with a rather sizable degree of certainty that your conference doesn't matter. You're not on the same plane as an SEC school or a Big Ten school. So the choices you have to bring somebody in are limited. Nobody likes to think of us as second tier right now, but for as long as you are financially this far behind because of these television contracts and being saddled with this life in the ACC, I think it affects everything. I think you probably don't have, like you would have a few years ago, a pick of the litter.
Thanks to Mike, if it went that way. And I don't want it to sound in like it's a done deal one way or the other, but I'm going to put that hat on for a moment. A couple of things. One, this job is more prestigious now because Mike Norvell did what he did than it was a few years ago. You had made a change and then a second change within 2 years of hiring a coach. So you're in a better position now at this point than before Mike Norvell took the job. The second thing is, if I'm putting on that hat and there's an introductory press conference for a new head coach, I would ask that coach, to what extent do you believe that Florida State is going to successfully get out of the ACC, and how much of a role did that play in your decision to come to Florida State? Because I would have, if I'm a head coaching candidate that's worth anything, I'm asking that question. Are we getting out of this thing, guys? And by when?
The odds have DeBoer still as the top candidate right now. Mike is second, but the odds keep going up ever so slightly with DeBoer. So that's good. That's good. Let's hope that happens. So take a quick break, come back, and put a ribbon on the show. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs. Glad you did.
If you've been waiting and waiting for the perfect time to buy your new house, you'll be waiting forever. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I have been a mortgage lender for over 20 years. And I can tell you that there is no such thing as perfect timing. So take the first step towards your new home and let me show you what that really looks like. Chances are very high that you'll be very surprised at what I can help you do. When rates go low, prices go high, and that home that you've been eyeballing could be gone. If you're wondering how the drop in interest rates is going to affect your payment, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to show you all of the options available to get you into your new home. And for every single loan that we close for a fellow Knoll, I will personally donate $250 per closing to the Battle's End. Let's do this together, and let's keep climbing. Call me today at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. Or you can find me online at loansforknolls.com. That's loansforknolls.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 373031.
Hey, Jimmy. Yeah. You got one of those new cars that keeps you in the lane when you're driving or slams on the brakes if you get too close to another car?
No, I don't like that fancy technology stuff.
A lot of people don't. It's called lane departure warning and forward collision alert. And all that fancy stuff is attached to your windshield. So if it gets damaged, you need a qualified company like Seminole Auto Glass to replace and recalibrate your windshield. But don't call your insurance company. Just go to SeminoleAutoglass.com and upload your insurance card. Hey, Jimmy.
What?
Did you know that Teslas come with a unique new car smell? They call it Elon Musk. Better call Seminole.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the WarChant.com Multimedia Network. Check out WarChant.com today for the latest news inside Florida's
other sources that we've been in contact with so far today, and it doesn't appear that we're going to have resolution to this situation when we sign off the airwaves at 3 o'clock. So that does give me, obviously, an opportunity to tell all you guys, keep checking in with warchant.com. Check us out, obviously, Warchant TV, any of the things that we'll be posting as we get the news. Also, Warchant TV, as I say. So you got a lot of opportunities. We're all mining for the same information. Hopefully somebody finds a nugget that is of significance here in the next hour, because now I feel like, Tom, we are in the proverbial limbo that I talk about on the show all the time.
Yeah, it sucks. People are saying, I'm looking at their body language. The body language is, all right, December was the longest month in program history. Sure. Why don't we just tack this on? Let's tack this on before the middle of January. We do know one thing in terms of our coverage. We will be live on this channel at 6 o'clock tonight. What it's going to be about is anybody's guess. Originally, it was supposed to be about the portal and recruiting, but I don't know how you can make that an A block today. So there's going to be a live show on these airwaves at 6, but you would be wise. This is not just because it helps us, but to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because anytime we go live, you'll be alerted. And you best believe if there's news, we will be live basically instantaneously if there's news.
Ryan, thanks. You made me laugh. I read our ass is in the jackpot now. Of course, that's always good for a chuckle. And we appreciate the contribution for the efforts here today. We'll see. I don't know if we are or not. You know what happens? I refuse to get, I refuse to get to where I'm consumed at all times by whether or not a guy is staying or going. But obviously it's our job to find out the information as quickly and as best we can and relay that. But what it does do is it sparks an exercise in thinking about the future of the program. And, again, I go back to my frustrations and concerns about being in this league and this happening over and over and over again for as long as we are here. But then also I began to think about realistically who would Florida State go after. Z-Chan writes here's to starting a Coach Mike Norvell stay piggy bank, give the man whatever he wants. Yeah, I think if he leaves, it won't be about money. I'm fairly certain it won't be about money. I think Florida State would rise to the occasion and offer up a very, very compatible salary to what Alabama would be offering. And I don't think Mike's in a position to where Alabama would go to him and say, here's $16 million. I mean, I think it would be, $11, $12 million, whatever it would be. And I think if Florida State felt compelled, they would match that. So if he leaves, it's about something other than money, although money always matters.
It does. It's just that if you take that job and you're Mike Norvell, you've accomplished a lot, but your seat's already warm the moment you take that. And that needs to be into consideration in terms of your buyout, your guarantees, what they outfit you with if you were to take that gig. That has to be part of the math for all of it. But we'll see. The one issue I took with Andy Staples during that interview was he says, this isn't about a knock on Florida State as much as it's Alabama. I don't believe that. It is a knock on Florida State's status in the Power 2 and that we're not in the Power 2.
It's a different conversation. Yes, it's a knock on where Florida State finds itself from a conference standpoint, not the institution itself. this is what it is to be in a conference that is not one of the two power players. It's to be in limbo. It's to be frustrated. It's to understand that there are schools who don't have the same cachet as you do on the field, but have the ability to make a greater impact in hiring and facilities because of the money that they're making by being in those two power conferences. Good work out of you, Tom. Good work, Director Matthew. We appreciate it. Our thanks to Andy Staples, who joined us in hour one. Be good, everybody. We'll talk to you real soon, we hope. Peace.